Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to share this card with you using the Frosty Mornings by Hello Bluebird in combination with the Tall Tree Scene Die. Now this stem set is truly adorable and it was one of those sets that you could get for free if you purchased an amount above, I don't know what it was, $100 I think. So well, when I order at Hello Bluebird, since I live in Europe as well, I tend to buy a lot at the same time. So I definitely reached that amount, so I could just add these adorable ladies to my basket and just purchase the dies myself to have matching dies as well. And then they arrived, and I must be honest, I'm one of those people who tend to buy everything. Although lately I really try to be careful with what I buy and being a bit more severe about what I need. And well, we need everything, but what I can use immediately and what not. Now these ladies and other images of people, they tend to frighten me because, well, it all becomes so real, and although these are not that realistic, I don't know what it is, but I tend to avoid buying people. I tend to buy critters all the time because then you can really do whatever you want. But since it was one that you could get for free and I bought the dice, I better use it. So I started on coloring these two girls. I'm keeping the coloring quite simple, like I'm not using a million colors. I am going to use yellows and blues for these two, and actually I am using exactly the same markers all the time over and over, but I'm just changing it up. Like the one will get a yellow blouse and the other one will get the yellow skirt, or like that. So I'm trying to avoid having two yellows next to each other because it's the same marker combination, but still you will see these two have exactly the same colors going on in their clothing. Also the skin tone, I just kept it simple, also to avoid having like hundreds of markers that I have to list. So just keeping it simple for myself for later on when I had to make the vlog and this video. So I'm starting with the yellow colors, and I will try to first do all the yellows and then all the blues. I do change up the hair color just to have them a bit different, but you know what I mean when I'm saying that I'm using exactly the same combos for both the girls. Now I really wanted these colors to be really vibrant, trying to also have some deeper shadows going on, because I was planning on keeping my background really subtle, so that these two ladies would really pop off this card actually. So that's what I'm doing. There is a lot of coloring in this video because I'm showing you everything, how I'm building up my shadows, how I'm returning to certain places to get it a bit darker. Well, to just show you everything. So half this video is actually coloring, which is quite long, since there is only one image sort of, but there are a lot of details, and of course there are two girls in that one image that I'm using today, so that also takes a bit of time. What I did before I started on coloring them was sort of do a shadow study, and I'm not an expert on shadow studies. I just draw a few arrows from the side that I want to have the light source on, which is in my case now the upper left sort of, not completely on top, a bit lower. And well, then I just really roughly do the easy shadow, so I just can already shadow the right side completely of each image, and then I start thinking about this clothing is overlapping with that, so there is shadow on the clothing underneath, And that's actually how I start on shadow studies. I don't do it often, but if I tend to use only one image and I want it to stand out, like the coloring being nearly perfect, because I'm not truly an expert, then I try first the shadow study just with a pencil in my book that I have, and I just go sit on the couch and then I just draw in shadows, and it's really rough to start with, and then when I think that I have added shadows everywhere, I start darkening it, and this way I also sort of know how dark I can go with my darkest marker. But still, when I start coloring with the marker itself, I tend to be really careful in the beginning, and then once I have everything on there, I dare to go a bit broader with the shadows. So that's how I tackle this one as well. And I just have my shadow study lying next to me, and that's already something that I can rely on. It's not necessarily the way that my end result turns out. Sometimes we need to fix things, or the shadow isn't right, or the marker isn't working like you would want it to. So it's not that it should be exactly the same, but it's for me really something that I can look back to and be sure that, yeah, what I'm doing is right, because sometimes you only notice in the end of the coloring that what you did was right, because then you see the completed picture and see that you were consistent with shadows. Not that it's always necessary. I also make cards where I just enjoy the coloring without thinking too much about it, just some simple coloring, and I love it as well. So it all just depends. So I started on the blue color combination, which is not really an in-your-face blue, but it's quite there also with the layers that I added. And now I'm actually on that stage that I think, okay, I can go a bit further with shadows at certain points, like below the collar. I didn't add anything, now I already have my second darkest color there, and then it's just blending out towards the lightest color and making sure that the transition is right, and otherwise I just go back in and fix it. Just keep adding layers. For the ones who are interested in the paper that I'm using, this is Perfect Coloring Paper by Transotype, and the ink I use to stamp out my images is the Gina Design Amalgam ink. And then once I am done with the blues, I will do the hair. Also something that I still find really tempting, doing hair. Maybe that's also why I avoid people. And then not in real life, but just stamping. But well, hair, it's something difficult in my opinion. You can color hair in so many ways. You can just do shadows with the light source and stuff. You can do flicking. You can try to really have the hair structure, but it's all so different, and none of it is easy in my opinion. So I just do something for the hair, and then sometimes it turns out great, other times I just think, what did you do? But there are some people that are really talented and are so good with Copic markers, and one of the ladies that I'm following on Instagram as well as on YouTube is creative_candy for you. That's her Instagram account. It's Marina Vasquez, if I pronounce it correctly. And she also has a YouTube channel, and it's super handy because she shows you how to color hair with Copics, but also how to do skin tones. And I just love those two videos, and then she has so many others where she's really showing some incredible stuff. I will link towards her YouTube channel down below in the description box if I don't forget, but her YouTube channel is Creative Candy for you. So I will do that, and if you want to see how she colors, it's truly amazing. And she truly also takes the time to show you the full process. She's not skipping on it, and I learned a lot from her, but sometimes just my impatience is taking over, as well as some hairstyles that the images have aren't always as easy to do the technique that she's showing, but then you have a technique that you know about and you can do your own thing with it. You can follow it, you can just create some sort of another version based on how she tackles it. Anything goes. Maybe it helps, so that's why I will share it in the description box down below. So check it out if you want to see more of how she is coloring. And while I am fiddling about and blabbing about the hairstyles, I'm almost there. I almost need to start on the hair. I will do one with brown hair and one sort of have blonde hair. Well, it's a bit of trial and error. So for the browns, I'm using my favorite combination. It's E47, E57, E33. If I need a lighter color, I just add E53, and that's what I always use. That's a safe color combination in my opinion for dark, warm brown combos. And then the blonde one is going to be E55, E53, E51, and if I need a lighter color, I use E50. So that's currently always the combinations that I'm using. Well, if you like a combination, why change it up? Sometimes we need to, but I mean... So I'm trying to sort of lay down first the darkest one, sort of checking where the hair is hanging in front of the other. And yeah, it's a struggle, but I'm really glad with the amount of shadow that I could add. Here on this one I didn't do a lot of flicking because there were a lot of lines that guided me sort of in the shadowing of this hairstyle. And then for the blonde one I sort of flicked a bit to have a bit of a structure or texture of hair, and yeah, it's subtle because it's a light color combination for the blonde hair, but well, I can see it when I look at the card in real life, and I think you can see it as well on the pictures. So on to the final stage of the coloring. If you're still here and you didn't skip, then thank you. I truly appreciate it, and I hope that you saw something that can help you, or just that you enjoyed the coloring, of course. But we are almost done. No panic, we are going to almost start on a background which is truly simple, so that will go really smoothly. So here I just add my first layer, and as I said already in previous videos, I need at least a second layer when I use this paper, and then I also have the option to add a bit more shadows, just darkening some parts of the hair in this case, and that's just how I work with this paper. So done with the coloring, onto die cutting, and once that's done I am going to die cut the tall tree scene die, which is amazing. I already used it in the past, but it just has such a powerful impact on the background and I love it. But as I said in the beginning, I am going to keep it really simple. I am just ink blending a bit of this pumice stone on the trees themselves, on the edges, so that's why I took a dauber to add this, because there are some tiny spaces where I need to go and I don't want to cover the complete tree with this color, just really subtle. And then once that's on there, I am going to add a bit of splatters using the same distress ink. However, I must tell you that this paper, being the perfect coloring paper by Transotype, it's gorgeous to use with alcohol. I like ink blending on it, but the water, like, they are not like in a good friendshipy mood. So I just smushed my ink pad. I added 1 drop. Now I added the second one because I just couldn't splatter it. And then I'm splattering it really tiny. Truly, this paper cannot handle a lot of water, so if you can minimize the amount of water adding on top of this one, then just do it. And if you cannot, or if you want to have way more splatters and also reactivate a bit of the distress inks with some water droplets as well, then I would recommend Strathmore Bristle Smooth or something like that, because that paper will resist and will not get ruined by the water. So for my backgrounds, there are a lot of pieces that you can inlay in between the trees if you want to. Well, that's a bit too much work for me, and it's harder to get a gradient going on the back. So what I do is just taking a panel that is slightly smaller than the frame from this die, and then I just start blending on that one, and then I just add everything on top of it, and that works perfectly as well. So I try to darken up this panel by going over the top again to create a gradient. However, I found that my Stormy sky was a bit dry, so I had some difficulties with getting that gradient as visible as I wanted to. And then for the splattering, I just thought that this was never going to work out because there wasn't enough ink. So I decided to take faded jeans as well to help me with the splatters. But then before I started splattering, I just thought, why don't I use this color as well to darken up the top half of my panel and create the gradient that I want. And as you can see here, immediately there is a difference in darkness, and I just love it. So 1 drop and then splattering, and I'm keeping it really subtle. I just want those girls to stand out. I put so much time in coloring it, so why would I cover it up with like a background that is distracting? And then for the snowy hills that are in this die, I am just using leftover ink on my brush, and I am sort of adding it to the edges and to the bottom of each hill. There are also these 3 pieces that can fit in between the trees, yes. You don't need to add them, you can keep it to 2 hills, but just because they are there, I decided that I was also going to ink blend a bit on there, and then I can just add it in between. And then once they are done, I just need a sentiment. So for the sentiment, I'm using this adorable sentiment that is inside this set, Warmest Thanks. And I love it together with the clothes of these ladies. It's just perfect, and it fits on this hill. I love the script, I just adore it, so that's why I used it. I'm going to add my frame, and therefore I'm just using some score tape today. You can use whatever you have on hand. This was just close by. And then I will use some adhesive roller to help me with the trees. And the rest will also be added. The bottom snowy hill with the sentiment I will lift up, and the girls I will add with some thin foam squares. And this way I have some dimension going on, because the hill on the bottom I am going to use some regular foam squares for that one. And that really makes it a lot of fun, I think, if you have different layers, even when it's a really simple card like this. So as you can see, and as I told you in the beginning, the background is really subtle, it's muted, it's soft, and that is really what I was going for. Also keeping blue in the background, because I'm also using blue for the clothes, but then again a lighter blue, especially behind the ladies there is a really soft blue glow. And once they are on there, I am going to add some final embellishments, and therefore I'm using the Moonstones by Little Things from Lucy's Cards today. I'm scattering them a bit all around, and then I will add them with some liquid glue. And once they are on there, this card is completely finished. I had to wiggle around with the placement a bit. I say it often, but it is the truth. Placing embellishments is truly one of the hardest things, because you want them to appear random, but we all know that we have to think about them way longer than just randomly scattering things around. So well, once I was happy with that, and I just kept adding actually, once I was happy with it, I just added them. So I really want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video and to following along on my YouTube channel. If you have any questions for me, you can always leave them down below in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you want to have some sort of a wrap-up of how I made this card and you don't want to revisit this video, there is also always a link to my blog post in the description box, just to help you, also with the supply list on there. So that is it for me today. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day left, and I will be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!